Hi friends, today I'm going to read you a book that I used to love to hear when I was little. It's called The Little Rabbit Who Wanted Red Wings. It might be backwards, I don't know. Once there was a little rabbit who had soft pink ears, bright red eyes, and a short fluffy tail. He was such a cute little rabbit, but he wasn't happy. He wanted to be somebody else instead of the nice little rabbit that he was. Whenever Mr. Bushytail, the gray squirrel, passed by, the little rabbit would say to his mommy, "Oh, Mommy, I wish I had a long gray tail like Mr. Bushytail's." And whenever Mr. Porcupine passed by, the little rabbit would say to his mommy, "Oh, Mommy, I wish I had a back full of bristles like Mr. Porcupine's." And whenever Mrs. Puddle Duck passed by in her two red flippers, the little rabbit would say to his mommy, "Oh, Mommy, I wish I had a pair of red flippers like Mrs. Puddle Duck's." Old Mr. Groundhog heard the little rabbit wishing. Old Mr. Groundhog was very wise indeed, so he said to the little rabbit, "Why don't you go down to the wishing pond? If you look at yourself in the water and turn around 3 times, your wish will come true." So the little rabbit trotted off all alone through the woods until he came to a pool of water lying in a low tree stump. That was the wishing pond. See right there. Beside the wishing pond sat a small red bird drinking happily. As soon as the little rabbit saw him, he began to wish again. "Oh," he said to himself, "I wish I had a pair of red wings." Just then, he looked in the wishing pond and saw his little face. Then he turned around 3 times and something happened. The little rabbit began to have a strange feeling in his shoulders, like he had had in his mouth when his teeth were growing in. It was his wings coming through. He must be so excited. So he sat all day in the woods by the wishing pond, waiting for his wings to grow. And by, just before sundown, he started home to show his mommy his beautiful pair of long red wings. It was dark when the little rabbit reached home. He knocked on the door. His mother opened it right away, but she didn't know him. No, she really, truly didn't know him, for she had never seen a little rabbit with red wings before. The little rabbit had no choice but to go looking for a place to spend the night, because his mommy would not let him get into his own bed. After a while, he came to Mr. Bushytail's house. The little rabbit rapped on the door and said, "Please, kind Mr. Bushytail, may I sleep in your house all night?" But as soon as Mr. Bushytail saw the strange rabbit, he slammed the door shut. He had never seen a little rabbit with red wings in all his life. The little rabbit went on until he came to Mrs. Puddle Duck's nest down by the marsh. He said, "Please, kind Mrs. Puddle Duck, may I sleep in your nest all night?" But Mrs. Puddle Duck poked her head out of the nest just a little way. "No, no, no," she said. "Go away." For she too had never seen such an odd-looking rabbit in all her life. He looks so sad. So the little rabbit went on until he came to old Mr. Groundhog's hole. Wise old Mr. Groundhog recognized him at once and let him spend the night. But the hole had beech nuts spread all over it, and while that pleased old Mr. Groundhog, the beech nuts made the little rabbit very uncomfortable, and he had a terrible night. In the morning, the little rabbit decided to try out his wings and fly a little bit. So he climbed up on a hill, spread out his wings, and sailed off. But he landed in a bush all full of prickles, and his little feet got stuck in the branches. He couldn't get down. He looks really stuck. "Mommy, Mommy," he cried, "come and help me." Of course, his mommy couldn't hear him, but old Mr. Groundhog did. He said to his little friend, "Do you still want your red wings?" "No, no," said the little rabbit. "Well then," said Mr. Groundhog, "why don't you go down to the wishing pond and wish them off again?" Oh, he looks so sad. Quick as a wink, the little rabbit scampered off to the wishing pond, looked in, and wished his wings away. Then he turned around 3 times, and sure enough, his red wings got smaller and smaller and smaller until they were gone altogether. The little rabbit went straight home to his mommy. She knew him right away, and she was overjoyed to see the little rabbit that she loved. And the little rabbit never, ever wished to be somebody other than himself. I hope you enjoyed that book as much as I did. I miss you all so much, and I'll see you very soon with another book.